Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenjani Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. Speaking of beyond, the vote counting for the USA election is currently underway, and as it stands, Donald Trump is leading with 230 delegates to Kamala Harris's 205 delegates, and the target is 270 delegates in order to be elected the president of the United States. Trump has just over 59 million votes, Kamala just over 54 million votes, and we'll get into those numbers a little more after, just as we're about to actually talk to Ari Hogard when he brings us the news from South Africa. But prior to that, we're going to be talking about Mozambique presidential runner-up escaping alleged assassination attempt. A Kenyan man convicted of plotting a 9/11 style attack on the US, and South Africa and Britain to strengthen trade and defense ties. DSTV 2 at 5, Go TV 25, 1up2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. As I said, Ari Hogard will bring us the news stories from South Africa. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Getting into our top stories, Mozambique opposition leader Venancio Mondlane, the runner-up in last month's disputed presidential election, says he has escaped an assassination attempt in South Africa, where he sought refuge after challenging the results. In a video posted on Facebook, Mondlane said he was in mortal danger after assassins had gone to his home to try to kill him. Mondlane said he had to jump through the back door and run through a hair salon while carrying his bags, accompanied by his wife and daughter. He did not provide any evidence to back up his claim, and the Mozambican authorities have not commented. Mondlane went into hiding about 2 weeks ago after his aide and lawyer were killed as they were preparing to challenge the results. Now, Daniel Chapo, the candidate of the ruling party Frelimo, was officially declared the winner with over 71% of the vote, as opposed to Mondlane's 20%. Mondlane didn't specify exactly where the alleged assassination attempt had taken place. In the video, he said he had been staying in the affluent Sandton neighborhood, and that is in Johannesburg, South Africa. I was with my wife and my daughter running from one place to another, he said. South Africa's foreign ministry told the AFP news agency they did not even know Mondlane was in the country, and that the matter should have been reported to the police rather. Now, the BBC reached out to South African police, but they didn't respond. Moving on to our next story, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu ordered on Monday the immediate release of all minors currently facing trial for taking part in cost of living protests. The announcement was made by the Minister of Information and puts an end to weeks of public outrage. A total of 76 protesters were charged with 10 felony counts, including treason, destruction of property, public disturbance, and mutiny. Some of them appeared in court on Friday. 4 collapsed due to exhaustion before they could enter a plea. Now, according to the charge sheet, the minors ranged from age 14 to 17 years old. The presidential directive is without prejudice to the ongoing legal proceedings, though. As directed by the president, an administrative committee will be set up to examine all issues surrounding their arrest, detention, and treatment. Investigations are also to be launched into all law enforcement agents involved in their arrests. Frustration over the cost of living crisis has led to several mass protests in recent months. The inflation rate is also at a 28-year high in Nigeria. Now, Zimbabwe's government has banned with immediate effect police officers from using mobile phones while working. The ban is contained in a memo ordering police officers to abandon their private communication gadgets while on duty. All officers are required to surrender their mobile phones to their supervisors once they get to their stations and only use them during their break time. No reasons were cited for the ban in the memo, but it is widely believed this could be part of efforts to curb police corruption. It comes a few days after 2 traffic enforcement officers were arrested in the capital, Harare, after a viral social media video exposed them taking bribes from public transport vehicles. Officers in charge of police stations have been ordered to enforce the ban, with threats issued against those who do not comply. Now, police are perceived to be among the most corrupt institutions in Zimbabwe because of how low their salaries are, as well as poor working conditions. A Kenyan man was convicted of plotting a 9/11 style attack on a U.S. building on behalf of the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. A federal jury in Manhattan found Cholo Abdi Abdullah guilty on all 6 counts he faced for conspiring to hijack an aircraft and slam it into a building, according to court records. He's due to be sentenced next March and faces a mandatory minimum of 20 years in prison. Abdullah represented himself during the trial, which opened last week. He declined to give an opening statement and did not actively participate in questioning witnesses. In court papers filed ahead of the trial, prosecutors said Abdullah intended to merely sit passively during the trial, not oppose the prosecution, and whatever the outcome, he would accept the outcome because he does not believe that this is a legitimate system. Lawyers appointed to assist Abdullah in his self-defense didn't respond to an email seeking comment. Now, federal prosecutors who rested their case last Thursday said Abdullah plotted the attack for 4 years, undergoing extensive training in explosives and how to operate in secret and avoid detection. After the break, we're going to be talking to Ari Hochad. We actually start talking about how South Africa takes big interest in the USA election because of how it will affect the South African economy. However, prior to that, we will give you the latest results as they stand from the USA election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Irango Med is a leading distributor, working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irango Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
You are still with Africa Good Morning. Before we talk to Ari Hochad, let's have a look at how the USA election stands between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Donald Trump currently leads 230 delegates to Kamala Harris's 209 delegates. 270 delegates are needed in order to win. Kamala Harris currently stands at 57,473,043 votes, which is 47.6% of the vote, whilst Trump has 61,648,473 votes, which is of course 51% of the vote. We'll certainly be keeping you updated on those results as they file in throughout the day. But in a related story, South Africa is taking a big interest in the result of the American election, as it will have an impact on the South African economy. Here to talk us through that story and more is the one and only Ari Hoggart. Good morning, Ari. Take it away.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, it's interesting, the elections. It's going to have an effect on South Africa either way. And the effect, according to most of the experts, is that's not going to be massive changes. Obviously, let's start with the rand dollar. So it's economy-wise, it is important. We always link the currency, the rand, to the dollar. That is important. But I think to look at briefly the difference between the two, what impact it can have if Donald Trump do win. It will have an effect more on the AGOA trade agreement with Africa, and that is because it is well documented that Donald Trump is very focused on Make America Great, so he's very focused on what's happening within his country, and he's very concerned about all these trade agreements, etc., etc. So South Africa gain about 59 billion South African rand. That is worth what South Africa have in duty-free access. That is what's AGOA, the agreement with Africa, is concerned. So it's not going to stop, but there might be changes, adjustments to that. And then also Donald Trump is more for the fossil fuel benefits, so that might be benefits South Africa with their coal exports. That is something that is also on the table. Regarding Kamala Harris, there might be changes to trade policies as well, but she's more open with relationships to Africa. It seems like campaign was more to be inclusive for the world outside America. And like I said in the beginning, Donald Trump is more for Make America Great and very focused on closing the borders and making sure that there's enough trade and benefits for the American people. So most experts say that it's not going to be earth-shattering between the two. There might be subtle changes. It's not that the one is a big difference to the other one, according to South Africa and Africa, but there will be changes, so the world is watching that. Obviously, it's important the next 4 years who's going to be leading America in that time. But so we'll watch that. It seems like it's going to be close. We're not sure who's going to win.
Yes, indeed. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that. Now, the city of Johannesburg continues to struggle to make ends meet as it is currently on the brink of bankruptcy, Ari.
It's a concerning story. It is South Africa's economy heartland. So it is Johannesburg is a big component in the economy of South Africa. And it went quickly from the last 2 years. It went from being in the black or in the blue for 1.2 billion, having that in the bank, to owing or battling to make ends meet and facing a 300 million deficit for the financial year. So that's not good news, and it's mainly because of two reasons. It's bad debt. So bad debt meaning that there's lots of services that was rendered, especially with the water and electricity, to the city, and it was the poor collection of those funds that's the problem at the moment. So they're not getting that money in, and that's going to stay bad debt. About 80% of that, people say, or the experts say, it's going to be written off. So it is also at the moment, there's a example of the electricity flow. That's been a challenge all across South Africa, but it's getting a lot better. I think the problem is also water supply at the moment. That's a summer rainfall season. There's low levels of water, but the infrastructure of water is also a problem. So the problems for Johannesburg is mostly around getting the money in, poor collection of the fees that must come in for water and electricity. High volumes, so it looks like there's definitely 17.8 billion rand of debt, and it is not uncommon. It's most of the municipalities or the metropoles do have that in South Africa, but it seems like it will unfortunately be the National Treasury, the government, that needs to jump in here and assist the city of Johannesburg.
All right, Ari, moving on. Shares in the construction and engineering group Murray and Roberts dropped by almost a quarter this week.
Yes, it's interesting because the gold price went up quite a bit, so there's good numbers for companies that's in gold. Murray and Roberts aligned strongly with De Beers and Anglo American. Those are mostly diamond mines, and it seems like that's got a big effect on them. They also had a setback in terms of their Australian subsidiaries that's under administration. That's Murray and Roberts. Big company, they're worth more than R1 billion South African rand on the JSE, but there's a significant drop in services provided by De Beers and also Anglo American. De Beers they notified the significant change in work for the de-scope, as they call it. And then also Anglo-American, their production forecast is 10% lower. So Murray and Roberts are a lot involved with the diamond mining, and it is the expected that, for instance, Anglo-American, they will likely have a 29 million carat, the total of 29 million carats diamonds that will be for the production year. Previous years it was 32 million, so there's a lower production there. They say it's a depletion of lower grade surface stockpiles. So it also dropped in Botswana. So that is relevant at the moment. So Murray and Roberts dropped their share price dropped to 20% the last week.
All right, Ari, now in the last of your stories, the city of Cape Town has been voted as the best city for food in the world. Lucky you.
Yes, it is lucky me, and that's another reason, Ashwin, why you need to urgently come down and visit Cape Town. That's one of the reasons, besides the sport we need to watch and the beaches we need to visit. But yes, it's a big accolade. It's a respected source as well. It's the Condé Nast travel guide, they call it. So they have 575,000 people that vote. So it's quite a comprehensive voting list. Of course, there's almost 200 international flights weekly in South Africa. Lots of international people visit Cape Town. So Cape Town came up top, 95.65%. Cape Town. Milan in Italy was 95.2. It was a close win, but Milan was second. Valencia, Spain was third, and then it's Tokyo in fourth position. So it's quite a big accolade. Just briefly, South Africa, Cape Town do offer quite a interesting experience for people that do visit restaurants, because there's influence of the Dutch culture, there's influence of the Malay culture, also the Indian culture. So all of that come together with all of that plate, that Indian or that seafood platters, and then the backdrop of Cape Town at the waterfront. You cannot ask for better. So it's a big accolade. So I think I've talked myself into going out tonight, maybe have some nice something nice at the waterfront, looking at all those photos.
Nice, Ari. Thank you very much for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Thanks, Ashwin. Great day for you and for everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, you're still with Africa. Good morning. We're going to swing over to the weather predictions before economic news. All right, in economic news, South Africa and Britain have agreed to boost trade and defense cooperation, the two countries' foreign ministers said after their meeting yesterday. Now, South Africa is already Britain's biggest trading partner on the African continent, and Britain is among the top 5 destinations for South African exports, which include precious metals, cars, and agricultural products. Bilateral trade between the two countries totaled about 133 billion rand this last year, according to South African Revenue Service data. We're going to swing over to the economic indicators.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with football news, the English Premier League that continued, and a big game. It was played between Fulham and Brentford. That was a home game for Fulham that was played at the Craven Cottage, and a very exciting game. It was 2 injury time goals by substitute Harry Wilson for Fulham that earned them the win by 2-1, and it was a great performance by Harry Wilson. He only came on with 8 minutes to play in the game, and then he scored 2 goals in the 92nd and the 97th minute of that game. Good result for Fulham then on the lock after 10 games. They now 9th position on the lock with 15 league points. Brentford stay on 12th on 13 points. At the moment on the English Premier League log, it is Liverpool with 25 league points. They leading Manchester City with 23 in second position, and then a surprise after 10 games, it's Nottingham Forest. They in third position with 19 league points. So this weekend, Fulham will continue a away game. They will play against Crystal Palace. Then Brighton will host Manchester City, and it will be Liverpool that will be at home this weekend against Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest in the third position. They will be at home against Newcastle over the weekend. On to rugby news on international sport, and it's international season that continues. It will be Ireland that will host New Zealand. A big game this coming Friday. It's not on Saturday. And team news from that game is that Peter O'Manory, he's the flank, very experienced, 35 years old. He's fit to play. He had a hamstring injury, but he's all clear to play against the All Blacks on Friday. New Zealand also with challenges with injuries. It is Bowden Barrett and Cody Taylor. Both of them have concussion. They're not able to play on Friday. Then also the Springboks play on Sunday. They play against Scotland, and that will be also without Frans Malherbe. He's a tight head prop. He's got an ankle injury, but there's more than enough cover for Frans Malherbe. There's Thomas du Toit, Vincent Koch and Wilco Louw. All three is currently touring with the Springboks. Then to close off today's international sports news, it is tennis news. It is the WTA finals. It's the best women's players in the world playing the WTA finals. It's in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. 2 results there. It was Qinwen Zheng from China. Good result for her in the group stages, beating Elena Rybakina by 7-6, 3-6 and 6-1. And then it is Aryna Sabalenka. She beat Jasmine Paolini of Italy, and the score there was 6-3 and 7-5. So the group stages will continue through the week, and the final of this WTA finals will be on Saturday. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Before we get into the highlights, let's have a look at how the USA election is currently going. Kamala Harris has gained some significant seats since our last update. She's at 210 delegates, whilst Donald Trump still leads at 230 delegates, keeping in mind they need 270 delegates in order to win. Just over 58 million votes for Kamala Harris and well over 60 million votes for Donald Trump. We'll see how that one unfolds. Let's have a look at the highlights. Mozambique presidential runner-up escapes alleged assassination attempt. Nigeria, Tinubu orders release of child protesters. And South Africa and Britain to strengthen trade and defense ties. DSTV 285, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com and Network Media Hub is precisely where you can find us. From me, Ashwin Bedi, and the Africa Good Morning team, Soda Jaganaka.